Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brendan Plays. This is All Elite Wrestling for our Total Extreme Wrestling 2020 save. Alright, well, we're moving on from last week's show, which of course was the Brody Lee special, the tribute show. We had a 62 rated show, not obviously one of our best episodes. Difficult to do a great tribute show, but what I think we did do was pretty good. You know, having the Dark Order get a really great win and really have a touching moment. They beat the tag team champions. A bit of shenanigans, of course, to do it, but a big win for the Dark Order, and they had kind of a special moment there. We also had some other cool stuff. You know, the Elite got to team up together to take on FTR, the Lucha Brothers. You know, Britt Baker defeated Anna Jay to keep the women's title. So some good things there involving the Dark Order, which, of course, in our world is very difficult to kind of, you know, use these guys. They don't have a lot of popularity, you know, low 30s, if not under. You know, most of them probably under 20, so it's difficult to really use the Dark Order in a big way, but, you know, I think we did the best that we possibly could. So, moving on from that, we now kind of get back on track. You know, of course, Brody Lee, we've taken him off the roster, so he will no longer be, you know, on our roster anymore. As you can see, he's no longer there. So, we won't be using Brody Lee anymore in any more capacity, unfortunately. So, we do have to kind of move on now. So, move on, life goes on. The next show has to be booked. So, we kind of will go back to what we were doing with our storylines and kind of where we were headed. Now, our next big show is going to be the New Year's Smash. So, we're still going to be doing that. I was considering renaming it to maybe the Exalted one or something like that. But what I think I might do is maybe it's difficult because I've already started this tournament. But I'm thinking of maybe, you know, creating a tournament like the Brody Lee Classic or the Exalted one tournament. You know, I suppose the Exalted one as a tournament name could kind of work because you know if you win it, you become the superior one. You know, you're becoming, you know, a bigger name. You know, so that kind of makes sense with that. So I feel like at some point maybe naming a tournament after Brody. I would have liked to have done this TNT Championship Tournament, you know, after Brody, but of course I've already had started. I just feel like it wouldn't be right to name or change it. Plus, I wouldn't mind making it more of a bigger deal rather than just kind of a number one contendership tournament. Maybe, you know, a bigger deal with more people involved and a much more, you know, huge tournament with, you know, the finals taking place at a big pay-per-view, something like that. So maybe down the line, we might look to do that and have a big tournament for Brody Lee. So that's kind of where our tribute for him will kind of lie, and that will be a recurring event that we would have. So that's something that we'll think about. But to get back on track with our storylines, obviously we're still going with Britt Baker and Chris Statlander. Awesome Kong's involved in that one now. We're going to start really building towards the Inner Circle and the Young Bucks. Moxley, he's going to defend his championship against Rey Fenix. So we've been slowly building up Rey Fenix, getting him ready. Had a big win over Matt Hardy to kind of establish him as a main event guy. You know, we're still kind of going with Kenny Omega versus the Elite. We might do a rematch at New Year's Smash, Paige versus Omega, and then we might shift it to Cody Rhodes versus Kenny Omega for Revolution. We haven't had Kenny Omega appear since he kind of turned on Adam Page or slapped Adam Page after their match. So we've signed Don Callis, so he's going to be managing Kenny Omega. So what we might do is have Don Callis kind of give us an update of where Kenny Omega is and kind of be, you know, his business manager. If you want to know where Kenny is or anything about him, you go through me type of thing. So Jeff Hardy is ready to debut, so he's officially part of AEW, so we can debut him at any time. Probably would have debuted him this week, honestly. But, you know, obviously having to do the Brody Lee tribute shows kind of push things back a week. So the question, I suppose, is when do we do it? And I feel like, you know, it may as well be now. You know, we might as well get it done, and that gives us 2 more weeks of build-up towards this tag team match. You know, Team Taz versus the Hardys. MJF and Sting. Difficult to really know where this is going to go. We want to obviously do something with MJF and Sting, maybe some sort of cinematic match. That would be ideal. But how do we get there in the meantime? We're probably going to save that for Revolution. So how do we kind of get there? Well, I'm thinking maybe Sting, you know, MJF wants to have a rematch for the World Championship, right? So I'm thinking maybe Sting might put a lot of opponents in front of MJF, and he has to kind of go through a series of opponents and pick up wins in all of those matches to really prove that he's deserving of that rematch. So that's something that might just kind of get us through for a few weeks at least. And then maybe Sting might have a bigger name. Maybe it's a Darby Allin or someone like that MJF ultimately has to beat to prove himself. And then, of course, maybe some shenanigans or something like that, could happen. And eventually MJF kind of comes after Sting. But we'll get there, but that's the early beginnings of that rivalry. Hobbs and Spears, still going that one. Still got the Tag Team Tournament and the TNT Championship Tournament, obviously. The TNT Championship Tournament's now in the semi-finals, so we'll have more on that soon. Thunder Rosa and Bad Reputation will still continue. And now we kind of shift, rather than Brody Lee and Darby Allin, we kind of change the storyline to what's the future of the Dark Order. What's next for the Dark Order. For me personally, I still really like the idea of Lance Archer and Jake Roberts coming in and kind of helping, take over this. I've had another idea from someone, saying that maybe Lance Archer could be a temporary leader and then eventually we find someone else. Whether it's we're building up someone from in the group or we sign someone else or, we bring someone else to join the group, whatever the case. And I don't mind that idea as well. Lance Archer could kind of keep the group going for 3 to 6 months until we kind of go somewhere else with it. So I don't mind that. And then, so kind of what do we do with the Dark Order from now? I'm thinking maybe, they do, maybe a big meeting between the group. They kind of figure out what's our future. They're trying to make plans. And there might be a little bit of dissension within the group. Stu Grayson might try and become the leader. Even Evil Uno might try to become the leader. John Silver, so there's some dissension, and eventually maybe there's a full-on brawl with the Dark Order kind of turning on each other a little bit, and eventually Lance Archer might hit the ring and beat them all up and say, look, enough of this, I'm your new leader, you follow me. That's kind of where I'm at, and that would be like a Lance Archer thing to do. So that's kind of where we're at initially with the Dark Order and with our new storylines and kind of where we're headed into the New Year's Smash. So let's go ahead and check out this week's episode of Dark. Okay, Dark is booked, and we've got a lot of pre-show matches here. Something that I feel like I haven't done for a little bit is really get a lot of the lower card guys matches, even if it's versing each other. So that's something I'm going to try and do a little bit more with the pre-show, is getting more of our low-end guys wrestling and trying to improve them. So let's take a look. So we did that through TNT versus the Varsity Blondes, 31 rated match. Pillman the best in the match, 36. The Dudleys 20 and 21, and Griff Garrison 26. And the Varsity Blondes, of course, won. Next up, Kip Sabian and Peter Avalon took each other one-on-one. Pretty good match, actually, 39. Sabian 37, Peter Avalon 35. Peter Avalon actually has about 31, 32 pop, which is quite surprisingly decent for where he should be. Realistically, he's the jobber of the roster. And he's got 31, which is higher than Kip Sabian, so we gave Sabian the win here, which might, in fact, give Sabian a little bit more pop, and, Peter Avalon could go down. Sabian, I just don't see a lot in. I think, he's alright. He's got a very average look. There's nothing that really has him stand out from the rest. He's just a guy. He's just a dude on the roster, and you take away Penelope Ford from him, what does he really have? Absolutely nothing. So, and this whole gaming gimmick, I just feel like isn't a great thing that represents very well on television. So I just don't see a lot in him, but look, I gave him the win here, so I would like to see him try and get to 35, 40 popularity to at least be a low-end, decent guy in the mid-card, Next up, Tay Conti and Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb picked up the win. Serena 30, Tay 21, and no chemistry for this one. Joe Janela and Alan Angels, 39 rated. Joey 40, Angels actually 33, pretty good. Joe Janela, again, another guy who's got around 39 pop in the Southeast, which is surprising. So he's a guy that we probably should be giving more wins to, or at least a little bit more TV time to, so he could be a little bit more of a factor in our mid-card. Open up the show on the main show with the Butcher and Blade versus SCU, a part of the Tag Team Championship #1 Contendership Tournament. Daniels 54, Kazarian 51, Blade 35, Butcher 31. Once again, the Butcher and Blade lose. SCU pick up the win. The Butcher and Blade have lost every match in this tournament. And I'm kind of thinking with this, it's a bit of a situation where they're going to lose every match and they just kind of get so frustrated that they just keep beating up or trying to attack all the teams or the division. And, they're just getting pissed off with it. So that's kind of where we're going with that. Unfortunately, they just don't have a lot of popularity, especially in comparison to the other teams. The only team that's close to them in popularity is the Private Party, and I would rate the Private Party above them. So 48 for that one. Miro gives his thoughts and predictions on the TNT Championship Tournament, who he believes is going to win the finals of the tournament. 68 for that one. Pretty good from Miro. Chris Statlander cuts a promo on Britt Baker and Awesome Kong. Dasha Gonzalez was the interviewer there. Pretty good promo. 55 from Chris Statlander. It was pretty good. So Statlander again delivering the goods. She's been a little bit better than I expected, honestly. She probably is not a bad candidate to hold the championship, but Britt Baker's starting to deliver deliver some good promos herself. So both women doing quite well in this storyline. So she's kind of giving her thoughts on what happened with Awesome Kong and how Awesome Kong's been kind of doing the bidding for Britt Baker as of late. Colt Cabana took on Brandon Cutler for 42. We had this one as a comedy match, so I figured I haven't tried this yet, but Colt Cabana's got to be the best comedy guy going around, right? So I figured, why not try it? Originally, I had, I think, Jack Evans involved in it. I changed Jack Evans because he's going to be the main event instead. So we went with Brandon Cutler to try it out. Cutler's gimmick suits it, and Colt Cabana's gimmick does suit it as well. So Cabana 50, Cutler 25. So really good from Colt. So I've always been wanting to put Colt Cabana in a tag team because I just have nothing for him as a singles. But in thinking about it, maybe I should just try and elevate him in as a singles and, be a dude in the mid-card, be more of a factor in the mid-card. Our mid-card is so weird, and I'll talk about it later, but our mid-card is so weird. It's such a huge variation. It's hard to really kind of get a gauge of who's where, who ranks where. So Cabana unfortunately kind of misses out because the TNT title is way up the card. He's way down on below the card, and a lot of the guys that I want to push have more popularity than him, and a lot of guys that I want to push have less popularity than him as well. So he's kind of stuck in a bad spot where I want to use him to put over young guys, and I want to use him to try and elevate the guys that are already doing well. So he kind of really misses out on both parts there. But we gave him a win. A much needed one. Bad Reputation cut a promo on Thunder Rosa, kind of mocking her appearance and the face paint and how she kind of goes about her business. 42. This one gained heat actually, so this is not a bad promo from Bad Reputation. Haven't used them too much in a promo capacity, but this is good. Sean Spears cuts a promo on Powerhouse Will Hobbs, of course Tully Blanchard there as well, and they're discussing Hobbs' future in AEW and how they want to try and make sure that he has no future in AEW. Now, main event was Best Friends versus the Hybrid 2, part of the Tag Team Championship Tournament. Best Friends picked up the win. Chuck Taylor 48, Trent 51, Evans 43, and Heligo 45. So Best Friends scoring another win. I think they're undefeated so far in the tournament, doing really, really well. I feel like it's going to be between Jurassic Express and Best Friends who's going to get that spot at the moment. So it'll be definitely interesting to see what happens when those two teams meet up. And finally, post-match, we had the Butcher and Blade come out for the ambush. They're pissed off about them losing a match earlier on. So we had some other teams, Private Party got in the mix, Evans and Heligo, and of course Best Friends are out there as well, all trying to fend it off and try and, shut down this ambush in the end. And apparently Mark Quinn has a gimmick that is getting stale, so we need to freshen up his character. 33 for the brawl, 47 for the show. Not bad. Alright, Dynamite is all booked. Let's have a look. So in the pre-show, Diamante took on Red Velvet. Diamante picked up the win. 35 from Diamante, Velvet 21, 30 rated. It's another instance where we're going to start using some of the lower card women. Nyla Rose defeated Ali for 43. Rose 44, Ali 36. That's better from Ali. She hasn't been that great. We did give her an opportunity to really become a factor in our division a while back. She kind of failed, but this is a little bit better from her. Rose still has some value. We just haven't got anything for her at the moment. She's one of those people where you don't really want her involved in a storyline unless, she's going to win because, you need to keep her strong. So the odd match here or there for her would be fine. And then the Acclaimed got beat by the Butcher and the Blade. So I figured if the Butcher and Blade are going to lose every match in this tournament, let's at least have them beat a team outside of the tournament so they still gain a little bit of momentum. So Blade 34, Butcher 29. That's why they're not really getting the push. Their performances aren't that great. 32 was the result in the end. We opened up the show with Moxley being confronted by Eddie Kingston and his family Ray Phoenix and Penta El Zero are out there in the ring. So Eddie Kingston kind of looking to say that Phoenix is going to prove all the doubters wrong. Moxley's got the championship. Well, Phoenix is going to come for it, and he's going to take that title, whether anyone believes it or not. Moxley kind of laughing it off, saying he's not too threatened, not too worried just yet. So kind of where this is going is I feel like, Eddie Kingston trying to hype up Phoenix. These guys at the moment, the family, they're okay, but now Moxley's kind of laughing at them. Maybe next week they might strike and try and make Moxley believe that this is going to happen. So 82 rated segment, very good start to the show and a great promo to lift the storyline heat. Kingston being involved in a really good promo back and forth with Moxley is great, and I feel like that's a real great way to try and improve his popularity. Lance Archer defeated Jake Hager in the TNT Championship Tournament. Archer and Hager both scoring 59 for their performances. 61 rated match. We had this a wild brawl. I thought that may help, but Jake Hager, despite the fact he's got a lot of popularity, I think his popularity is 58, 59, his in-ring work just isn't really much better than that. So we've gone with Archer instead. I figured Hager's got a lot of popularity to give. He's quite inflated for where he, once was. And his performances haven't been that great. I feel like Archer offers a lot more value. And especially if we're going to look to have Archer maybe take over the Dark Order, we need to get him some big wins. So that's why we've gone with him. And Archer will face the winner of Pac and Dustin Rhodes in the final. Post-match, Lance Archer and Jake Roberts issuing a warning to Miro, so that advances the storyline as well. Not a bad promo from those two, 62 rated. Jurassic Express and the Hybrid 2 met as a part of the Tag Team Championship Tournament. Jurassic Express picked up the win in 15 minutes, defeating Jack Evans with the Betrayal. Luchasaurus 56, Jungle Boy 55, and Helico 51, Evans 46. I think Hybrid 2 is probably the most underrated tag team in our division. They always do really well with their performances. They're very solid, yet we don't give them the big push. But Jurassic Express, obviously, just that little bit better, of course. Mid-50s performances is really, really good. And that's probably good enough if we need them to face off with, in the Inner Circle or the Young Bucks or someone like that down the line. That's probably good enough for me to where I can believe that they'll at least produce a good match. So I'm confident in that duo going forward. So 57 match is really, really good. Don Callis makes his debut, and his new gimmick is rated as great. He's given a staff member gimmick, so he's kind of like an authority figure, or position of power, or kind of what he'll be is the new a business associate or business manager for Kenny Omega. Don Callis says he's going to be the new manager for Kenny Omega, so he's going to do all the talking for Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega's not coming back to AEW until he gets a raise. So basically, after beating Adam Page, Kenny Omega now believes that his star power has risen, and he deserves more money, more TV time, more opportunities. He's a much bigger deal. So that's kind of where the dissension, I suppose, will lead with the Elite. Cody obviously being in a position of power, Kenny's in a position of power. That kind of, those two kind of butt heads a little bit, especially about the pay bracket. Cody might have to give in. Sting might have to be involved as well, a little bit here as well, to try and give, Omega what he wants. So maybe we might go, okay, as per your contract, you're forced to show up on Dynamite no matter what, even if you believe you're worth more money. If you don't show up, you're going to be terminated. We could go down that route, and that's where we get Kenny Omega on the show. We can do some promos, things like that. But that's I feel like it was a nice little way to kind of kick off this rivalry, that next step. John Callis demanding more now that he's the manager for Omega, and Kenny believes he's worth a lot more. 63 in the end. This promo, very good. MJF and Sting back and forth on the mic. 87 rated segment. Well, MJF called out Sting. Sting says if MJF wants to get his rematch for the AEW World Championship, he needs to start winning more matches to get himself back in contention. So MJF is going to be booked against Billy Gunn coming up next immediately. So Sting laying down the law. Look, MJF missed out in the cage match, whether he likes it or not. He needs to start stepping up and get some more wins. Otherwise, well, he's not going to get what he wants. So that's how we can kind of keep this issue with Sting and MJF going for a little bit. The match itself was 62 rated, MJF 69, Billy Gunn 45 in the end. 10-minute match, nothing too major there We had Wardlow kind of get himself involved as well to help out MJF as well. So, good little use of Billy Gunn. He's a guy, he's got 45 pop. He's not going to do much better than that, but he's a guy who can easily take a loss here. MJF beating him. I still feel like Billy Gunn's has a bit of credibility, so it's a good win for MJF in my opinion. Dark Order have a bit of a meeting backstage, and they're kind of talking about their future as a group. What's the plan? What's going to happen now that Brody Lee's gone? What do we do? Who steps up? Does anyone step up? Do we stay together? Do we move on? They're kind of having a big town hall meeting, I suppose, to try and figure it all out. 35 for that one. John Silver was pretty bad, apparently. Stu Grayson, not so great either. Taz is out there, and thanks to Matt Hardy calling him out to the ring. So Hardy calls out Taz to the ring, and he, asks Taz, look, Brian Cage beat me fair and square. You guys still seem to have a problem with me. Let's just move on. Quite clearly, you guys are the better guys. But Taz is having none of it. Taz says, you know what? You tried to prove that you're better than Brian Cage. And Brian Cage, when he says it's enough, that's when it's enough. And at the moment, he has not had enough. So he wants to make an example out of Matt Hardy. In fact, he wants to force Matt Hardy into early retirement. So that's kind of where we're at there. It might lead to a bit of a beatdown next week. That's when maybe Jeff Hardy might come back and debut in AEW and get himself involved, setting up the Team Taz versus the Hardy Boys at the upcoming pay-per-view. 67 promo, so gaining a bit of heat and looking pretty good. We're in a good position for when Hardy does come in. Young Bucks took on Janela and Kiss in a tag team match. We had Matt and Nick, 81 and 80, Joey Janela, 47, Sonny Kiss, 34, for a 72 overall match. Fantastic matchup in the end. We wanted to give the Young Bucks a win so we can set up this next promo. For an 82 rated promo, the Young Bucks tell the Inner Circle that they are the rightful challengers for their titles. So Inner Circle say they're still looking for their next contenders. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be the winner of the tournament? Is it going to be someone else? Is it going to be FTR, Young Bucks? Well, Young Bucks say after that win, there's no doubt they are the deserving tag team. So 82 rated promo. Young Bucks starting to get things right. Their matches are doing better. Their promos are now doing better. They're at a position now where their popularity should start to fly up. We really struggled to get them over, but now ever since they've kind of moved away from FTR a little bit, their promos are starting to improve, their work is starting to improve in the ring. I feel like they're at a position now where they really are on the path to potentially going to 65, 70, beyond in popularity. And that's a great position to be in. We want them to be, realistically, they should be 70 pop. They need to be at that point. They're one of our best teams. And if we want them to be on that level, we really got to start pushing them hard. So I feel like them getting it right with these promos is a great stepping stone. Main event. We took a risk. Look, I wanted the TNT tournament to be important. And I knew this match probably would be 60 at best. But I figured, let's have some importance for this championship tournament. And let's have Park versus Dustin Rhodes semi-final match. I also thought Park might be able to carry this one to a little bit better. But he hasn't actually been as good as I thought he would be since returning. I thought Park might be closer to 70 in performances, but he's only 62, which is still okay, but a little underwhelming. But he had a 59 rated match with Dustin. Dustin performed at 50. Park wins the matchup and advances in the tournament. He'll now meet Lance Archer in the final, and Lance Archer, in typical fashion, decides to storm the ring and come after Park straight away. And of course, officials, referees, wrestlers in the back are all out there to try and break it up so they don't ruin the big showdown between, of course, Park and Archer coming up next. So there we go. So 59 rated for that segment as well. So a bit of a poor finish. We had some good stuff earlier in the show, and it gives us a 66 overall show, which is still pretty good, considering we took a risk with the main event. I don't mind that. All right, let's take a look at the results. So first of all, NXT. 2.14 TV rating, 1.6 million viewers. They are just getting better and better. For us, though, we had 790,000. That's pretty good, actually. I'm not sure of what our best TV rating is, but that's going to be right up there, actually. So we had a 1.505 TV rating, so not quite anywhere near the best, but top 10. So top 10... considering we've had, 50 shows so far, that's pretty good. So not bad. We had 790,000 viewers. That's a nice little increase considering where we've been. And we didn't have an amazing show, so our overall viewership is doing that little bit better, which is quite promising indeed. Some other things, we spoke about, some signings. Angelo Dawkins, he's going to be staying with WWE, that's fine. Kurt Angle actually is going to be joining New Japan Pro Wrestling America, so there will be a New Japan American company. And they're basically signing anyone who's got a decent name value at all. Anyone on the free agency, they're going to try and bring them all in. So it'll be interesting to see who they get. Look, Trevor Murdoch, Orlando Colon, Tim Storm. No one that special just yet. Enzo looks like he's going to be their top guy. But it's cool to see another little company pop up, New Japan, to see what happens there anyways. So good stuff for that. We're now midway through December, so obviously just a few more weeks to go until we have our pay-per-view. We'll take a quick look and see if there's any popularity changes. So one thing I do notice straight away is that both the Young Bucks are now considered to be major stars. I think one of them was one and one of them was not for a while, but looks like they're both touching 60 pop. Matt's a little bit behind Nick, but they are now in the 60 plus zone, which is a relief. A huge relief. MJF mid-60s still. Sting 78 now, so he's gained pop since joining the company, which is obviously awesome. Moxley at 74. He went down for a while, but he's kind of regained. Chris Jericho, he might be close to 86. He's 85 in Southeast, 86 in Northwest. So that's obviously great. Elsewhere, FTR kind of struggling a little bit. They're kind of a little bit out of the mix, but once we get the Hardys going, we'll try and really elevate them. Lance Archer now has also moved up to now be considered to be a star. So he was, I think, on the threshold down, but his popularity has now gone up to 54. It was at 53, so a couple of good segments from him. He's elevated. Park, 57. So he's starting to gain a little bit. Some areas he's gained a little bit, so that's good signs as well for us. So good stuff. Obviously, Lance Archer defeated Jake Hager, so that's going to help, obviously. And Jake Hager looks like he's dropped down to well known. He was at a star, but he's dropped down. I think his popularity was at 60, 58, 59 at one point. Now it's dropped down to 56 after losing to Archer. So I'm not too concerned because obviously the Inner Circle, they've all gained so much popularity thanks to Chris Jericho. But, Jake Hager helping out Lance Archer a little bit. I still believe there's a lot more value in Lance Archer, so I'm more than happy if Hager takes that little loss there just to try and elevate Lance. Ray Phoenix is now up to 51 popularity as well. So he's really on track to be ready to take on Moxley. I don't think he needs too much more than that to have a great match with him, considering what his averages have been for us so far. And we'll take one little look a little bit further down the card. Eddie Kingston obviously had a big promo with Moxley. He's at 41 pop now. One little pop change for him as well. So, we might be able to get Kingston up to maybe 44, 43 out of this Moxley feud, which if we can, that would be a huge plus as well, obviously. So that's kind of a, one little trade-off that we'll get. Phoenix might move up a lot. Kingston might move up a lot. So that gives us a little bit more confidence going forward. Janela had a good match. No change from him. Sonny Kiss as well. No real change either for him. So things looking pretty good. We didn't really utilize the women too much on the show. We probably should look at that next time. But some good little improvements, small little increments. But what it will do is someone like Lance Archer is gaining and gaining and gaining. He'll get to the point where he can can be quite similar to Brian Cage and be a bit more of a factor on our roster. So, if we look at our star quality situation, obviously most of the guys that you expect to be there are the major stars. Page, Jericho, Moxley, Omega, and the Young Bucks. That's great. But down a little bit further down, we're starting to gain a little bit more. Brian Cage is there now. Lance Archer's there. Jeff Hardy, he'll be a major star very, very soon. That'll take a couple of weeks till his changes. Hardy, Matt Hardy's still there. FTR, Park Miro. So we've got a nice little upper mid-card building there, which is obviously fantastic. What we really do need to work on is this well-known area. There's a few names there, but most of them are tag team guys. We need a few more singles Obviously we can use some of them as singles, but if we can get a couple more recognizable and bring them into the well-known, maybe it's a Matt Sydal could be one, Wardlow be another one, Eddie Kingston's a real crucial one. I'd like to see Ricky Starks get there, Will Hobbs get there. If we can bring a few more of those up, all of a sudden this roster just feels a little bit stronger because we've got so many guys in this unimportant area right now, especially the women. We'll talk more about that another time. There are plenty of them there, but if we can bring the Will Hobbs into the mix, I still feel like really Ricky Starks has got huge upside. He's at 28 pop now, so he's still gaining, which is fantastic. He started with us at 20, now at 28, so it's been a good little progression for him. If we can bring up a few more, all of a sudden, like I said, this roster is in pretty good shape because at the moment the mid-card just feels really, really thin. But nonetheless, things are going pretty well for us. Not too far away from New Year's Smash. Lots to look forward to. Hopefully you guys will join us for the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. And hopefully we can start building, and we got some big stuff coming up for New Year's Smash. I feel like it's going to be a good one. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.